the silence between breath and blade, a warrior is reborn. The path to breaking addiction is not a battle of flesh. It is a war of spirit. Like steel tempered in the fires of discipline, your soul must endure the heat of struggle to emerge unbreakable. Miyamoto Musashi once wrote that the way is in training. Every vice, every weakness, every craving is but an illusion meant to test the strength of your Hagane no Ishi, the will of steel. Addiction is not your identity. It is rust upon your blade. You do not destroy it through anger, but refine yourself through purpose. This journey is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who choose to rise each time they fall, for those who seek mastery not over the world, but over themselves. If you walk this path with me, comment, discipline, subscribe to join our brotherhood of warriors, and thank you for choosing to forge your own destiny rather than be forged by weak. Together we will awaken the Musashi within. Awareness is the first and most profound strike on the battlefield of addiction. Before a warrior can draw his blade, he must first open his eyes to the enemy within. In the teachings of Miyamoto Musashi, victory begins not in combat, but in perception. To quit any addiction, you must first see it, not as an external chain, but as an internal illusion. Awareness is not simply recognizing the habit, it is observing the subtle ways it manipulates your emotions, disguises itself as comfort, and whispers lies of temporary relief. When you watch your impulses without judgment, you begin to separate the self from the craving. Like a samurai studying his opponent's stance before the duel, awareness allows you to understand the patterns that keep you bound. You are not your thoughts. You are not your urges. You are the consciousness that sees them rise and fall. In that moment of clarity, you begin to awaken the warrior's mind, a state of shin, pure presence, where every temptation is seen as a lesson in control. True awareness feels like standing before a mirror forged from truth. It reflects not just your strength, but your weakness, every wound, every escape, every false comfort you have sought. Most people run from this reflection because it burns like fire, but only through fire is steel purified. Awareness demands courage, the courage to look directly at the root of your addiction and admit, "This is where I fall." It is not shameful to see your darkness, it is shameful to live blind to it. Musashi wrote that the warrior must know both his sword and his soul. To conquer addiction, you must study your triggers, your environments, your emotions, and your thoughts. You must see when your hand reaches for the familiar escape, whether it be a substance, a screen, or a fleeting pleasure, and pause. That pause, that single breath of recognition, is the birth of power. Through awareness, you reclaim control over your inner battlefield. Addiction thrives in the shadows of unconscious action. It feeds on repetition without reflection, but when light enters the mind, the shadows retreat. Every time you become aware of your craving, you weaken its grip. The urge may still come, but now it cannot command you. It becomes a signal rather than a sentence. The samurai never swings blindly. He waits, observes, and strikes with precision. In the same way, awareness allows you to act instead of react. It transforms every moment of temptation into an opportunity for growth. The ancient Zen masters spoke of mujo, the impermanence of all things. When you observe your cravings, you realize they too are temporary, like clouds drifting across a clear sky. Awareness teaches you that you are not trapped. You are merely witnessing passing storms within an infinite calm. As your awareness deepens, your mind sharpens into the blade of a disciplined warrior. You begin to see addiction not as an unbeatable monster, but as a teacher exposing your blind spots. You learn to sit with discomfort instead of fleeing from it, to feel emotions instead of numbing them. Awareness becomes your silent ally, an ever-watchful guardian that warns you before the fall. This is the awakening Musashi spoke of, mastery of the self through observation. Each moment you choose awareness, you temper your spirit like folded steel, layer by layer. you begin to understand that quitting addiction is not about fighting the urge, it is about understanding the urge until it dissolves. When you can look at your desires without obeying them, you have already begun to win. The warrior's mind is calm, unshaken, and aware, an eternal witness standing tall amidst the chaos within. Discipline is the flame that tempers the spirit and transforms weakness into strength. It is not the harshness of punishment, but the sacred rhythm of self-mastery. In the philosophy of Miyamoto Musashi, the disciplined warrior is not driven by fleeting motivation, but by unwavering commitment to the way, the do. To quit any addiction, one must build discipline as a blacksmith forges a blade, through heat, repetition, and patience. Discipline is born in silence, in the moments no one sees, when the urge to surrender whispers softly and yet you stand firm. It is the art of doing what must be done, even when desire pulls you elsewhere. The warrior does not wait for inspiration, he moves because it is his duty. Every act of restraint is a strike of the hammer upon the steel of your will. The first few blows are painful, but each one shapes you closer to mastery. Discipline is the bridge between chaos and control, the invisible force that turns awareness into action and dreams into reality. In the early days of breaking addiction, discipline feels like walking through fire. The body screams for comfort, the mind bargains for relief, and the heart trembles between guilt and resolve. But it is in this heat that transformation begins. Musashi trained relentlessly, not to impress others, but to refine himself beyond the limits of ordinary men. In the same way, discipline demands daily repetition, waking up with purpose, confronting discomfort, and following your code even when no one is watching. This constancy builds momentum, a rhythm that replaces the pull of craving with the strength of habit. Each day you choose discipline, you reclaim a piece of your power. You become the blacksmith and the weapon. You understand that freedom is not found in surrender, but in control. It is not the absence of desire, but the mastery over it that defines a true warrior of the spirit. Discipline is also compassion in motion. It is not about harshly denying yourself, but about honoring the part of you that seeks peace and strength. When you practice discipline, you speak to your inner warrior and say, "I am capable of more." Addiction thrives on inconsistency. It feeds on moments of weakness and excuses. Discipline starves it through routine, through daily victories, through small acts of courage repeated until they become your nature. This is the spirit of Bushido, the way of the warrior, loyalty to one's own code. Your code may be simple. No matter how many times you fall, you rise again. Every sunrise becomes a new beginning. Every temptation, a test of your resolve. With time, discipline ceases to feel like effort. It becomes the natural state of your being. The same way a samurai's blade becomes an extension of his arm, discipline becomes an extension of your will. And so, discipline becomes your silent companion, walking beside you through the storms of change. It is not a single act, but a lifelong practice, a vow renewed with every breath. There will be days of exhaustion, days when you question the path, but the disciplined spirit endures without complaint. Musashi himself lived a life of solitude and simplicity, finding mastery in the smallest details of daily life. You too can embody this essence by aligning every choice with your purpose. Eat with awareness, rest with intention, and train your mind to remain unshaken. Over time, you will find that the same fire that once burned you now fuels you. Discipline transforms pain into purpose, weakness into wisdom, and repetition into freedom. This is the heart of the samurai's path. The realization that true strength is not in conquest, but in command of oneself. Detachment is the art of letting go, not from indifference, but from understanding. It is the warrior's way of seeing the world without becoming enslaved by it. In the teachings of Miyamoto Musashi, attachment clouds the mind and weakens the spirit, for a warrior who clings cannot strike freely. To quit any addiction, one must first release the grip of craving. the illusion that happiness lies in what we consume or repeat. Detachment is not about rejection, it is about liberation. It is standing in the middle of desire and saying, "You have no power over me." When you detach, you do not destroy emotion, you transcend it. You begin to see that every urge, every craving, is a wave rising and falling on the surface of your mind. The ocean beneath, the true self, remains calm. This understanding is the heart of Mushin no Shin, the mind without attachment. It is from this inner stillness that clarity and strength are born. In the realm of addiction, attachment disguises itself as comfort. The familiar feeling, the temporary escape, the small burst of pleasure, it all becomes a trap woven in silk. You convince yourself that you need it to survive, to feel good, to forget pain. But Musashi taught that dependence of any kind is weakness. The warrior carries nothing he cannot live without. Detachment begins when you recognize this truth. The substance or behavior does not give you peace. It only borrows it. Every moment of indulgence creates debt, leaving you emptier than before. When you detach, you stop feeding this cycle. You learn to sit with discomfort without escaping it, to face your pain as a master faces his enemy, calm, alert, and without fear. This is not easy, for the heart rebels against emptiness. But through detachment you find that the emptiness itself is sacred space, a place where healing begins. Detachment does not mean isolation from life or emotion. It means participating without possession. A warrior can admire beauty, taste pleasure, or feel sadness without being consumed by them. The addicted mind clings, the free mind flows. When you practice detachment, you begin to observe your habits from a distance, as though watching clouds drift across the sky. You may feel the pull, but you no longer obey it blindly. You see how your desires rise, how your mind tempts you, and you smile, not in mockery, but in awareness. This perspective breaks the chains of emotional slavery. It transforms each craving into a mirror that reflects your inner landscape. You start to realize that nothing outside of you holds the power to complete you. Like a samurai polishing his sword, you polish your mind daily through presence, simplicity, and patience. Detachment becomes your armor, light yet impenetrable, allowing you to move freely through the battlefield of life. As detachment deepens, peace follows naturally. You no longer seek to fill every silence or soothe every ache. You begin to trust yourself, to believe that you can endure, that you can exist without constant stimulation. This is the highest form of strength, serenity in the face of chaos. Musashi walked alone, not because he hated the world, but because he had mastered the art of not needing it. In your own journey, detachment means knowing that you can walk away from anything that controls you and still remain whole. You are no longer chained to pleasure, approval, or escape. You learn to live lightly, to carry only what aligns with your purpose. Detachment reveals that freedom is not found in acquiring, but in releasing. When you can stand before your old addictions without fear, without hatred, and simply see them as they are, temporary illusions, you have already won the battle. That is the way of true warriors, to fight not with force, but with stillness. Purpose is the flame that gives direction to the warrior's journey, the light that cuts through darkness when all else fades. In the teachings of Miyamoto Musashi, every strike, every movement, every breath must serve a purpose. Without it, strength becomes chaos, and discipline becomes emptiness. When you decide to quit addiction, you are not merely rejecting a habit, you are rediscovering why you live, why you fight, and what you stand for. Purpose transforms pain into meaning, struggle into growth, and endurance into destiny. It is the compass that keeps you steady when temptation whispers. The addicted mind seeks momentary pleasure. The purposeful mind seeks lasting fulfillment. The moment you align your fight with a higher reason, to protect your family, to honor your future, to become who you were meant to be, your suffering transforms into power. This is the way of Ikigai, the Japanese concept of one's reason for being. Without purpose, a warrior's blade dulls. With it, he becomes unstoppable. At first, purpose may seem distant, buried beneath years of guilt, distraction, and despair. Addiction clouds vision, making you forget who you truly are. But Musashi's path teaches us that the way is not found, it is forged. You do not wait for purpose to appear, you create it through consistent action and self-reflection. Each day you rise and say, "I will fight again." You breathe life into your purpose and grows with your effort, sharpens with your focus, and deepens with your discipline. The world will test your resolve, cravings, fatigue, doubt, but purpose will keep you upright when strength alone fails. It reminds you that this journey is sacred, that your suffering is not meaningless. Every warrior has moments of weakness, but those guided by purpose never stay fallen. Like Musashi, who lived his life according to the way of strategy, your purpose becomes the strategy that defines every choice you make. When your life is driven by purpose, your energy shifts from resistance to creation. Instead of fighting to escape addiction, you begin striving towards something greater, something worthy of your spirit. Purpose gives you vision beyond the momentary pull of desire. It turns the act of quitting into an act of transformation. You no longer think in terms of losing something, but of becoming something. Every craving becomes a test of commitment to your mission. The samurai did not endure pain for the sake of suffering. He endured for honor, for mastery, for truth. In the same way, your purpose must be larger than your addiction, so powerful that it renders temptation insignificant. Write it, speak it, live it, until it becomes part of your breath. When your actions align with your purpose, you no longer need willpower. You move with certainty. The battle becomes clear, not to destroy yourself, but to refine yourself into the person your purpose demands you to be. With purpose, even solitude becomes strength. You no longer feel lost when you walk alone, for you know the path beneath your feet is chosen, not forced. Purpose is not a distant dream. It is a fire that burns quietly within you, guiding your every step. The addicted mind lives for the next moment. The purposeful soul lives for eternity. Musashi's life reminds us that mastery of the self begins with devotion to something greater than the self. Find your reason, your why, and let it anchor you through the storms. When doubt rises, return to that inner flame and remember why you began. Every great warrior fights for something beyond victory, for truth, for love, for meaning. Purpose is what makes the pain worthwhile, what transforms the ordinary into sacred. When you act from purpose, addiction loses its voice, for you are no longer chasing relief, you are fulfilling destiny. Balance is the essence of harmony, the quiet rhythm that sustains all mastery. In the philosophy of Miyamoto Musashi, true strength lies not in constant battle, but in the ability to move fluidly between stillness and action, between control and surrender. To quit addiction, one must rediscover balance, the alignment of body, mind, and spirit. Addiction thrives in extremes. Too much indulgence, too much restraint, too much guilt, or too much escape. Balance teaches the middle way, the Chudonomichi, the way of the center. It is not weakness but wisdom. The balanced warrior does not fight every feeling, nor does he submit to it. He observes, adjusts, and acts with purpose. When you are in balance, your emotions do not command you, you guide them, like a samurai guiding his blade through wind. Balance means knowing when to rest, when to rise, when to endure, and when to release. It is the rhythm of mastery, the pulse of the warrior's spirit that keeps you steady when the storms of craving try to unseat you. In the early stages of breaking addiction, balance feels impossible. The mind swings like a pendulum between hope and despair, between progress and relapse. But Musashi wrote that the path of strategy requires composure in all things. To regain balance, you must first slow down and listen to your body, to your breath, to the silence beneath your thoughts. Awareness without balance becomes tension. Discipline without balance becomes exhaustion. The balance becomes exhaustion. Balance teaches you to pace yourself, to rebuild your strength steadily, not violently. Like a swordsman finding his stance, you must learn where your center lies, what grounds you, what nourishes you, what aligns with your truth. It may be meditation, training, nature, prayer, or service. But whatever it is, hold it sacred. Balance is not found by withdrawing from life. It is found by engaging with it wisely. Through balance, your mind becomes calm enough to see clearly, and your spirit strong enough to act calmly. Balance is also the harmony between acceptance and effort. Many lose themselves by trying to control everything, their urges, their emotions, their outcomes. But Musashi taught that the warrior does not resist the flow of the world. He moves with it. When you learn to let go of perfection and focus on progress, balance naturally returns. You begin to understand that some days will be stronger, others quieter, and both are necessary for growth. Balance does not mean never falling. It means never staying fallen. It means forgiving yourself for yesterday's mistakes and returning to the way today. The addicted mind seeks intensity, the next high, the next victory, but the balanced mind seeks consistency. It finds meaning in small, deliberate steps. The samurai trained not for spectacle, but for steadiness, for the calm that allows him to strike with clarity when the moment demands. In your journey, this steadiness will become your anchor, keeping you centered amidst temptation and doubt. When balance takes root within you, life itself becomes your dojo. You begin to act, rest, and think in rhythm with your higher self. You realize that healing is not a race. It is a dance between surrender and control. You no longer chase extremes of joy or fear. You dwell in quiet confidence. The storms still come, but you do not drown. You move with the waves. This is the power of balance. It transforms chaos into flow, pressure into focus, and struggle into grace. Musashi lived by simplicity, eating little, speaking less, training daily, always in equilibrium with his purpose. In your own journey, balance means honoring every part of yourself without letting any one part dominate. It means being fierce yet gentle, driven yet patient. When you achieve this inner symmetry, addiction loses its foundation, for imbalance is its only home. The warrior who walks in balance cannot be swayed. His steps are measured, his mind is clear, and his spirit remains unbroken. Mastery is the final forge of the warrior's spirit, the moment when discipline, awareness, detachment, purpose, and balance unite into unshakable strength. Miyamoto Musashi lived his life in pursuit of mastery, not of others but of himself. He called it Heijoshin, the mind that remains unmoved in all situations. To quit addiction is not simply to stop a behavior. It is to master the forces within that once ruled you. Mastery is not perfection, it is command over imperfection. It is knowing your weakness and shaping it into wisdom. The path is not a single victory but a lifelong practice of refinement, like polishing a blade that never dulls. Each moment of awareness, each act of discipline, each breath of patience sharpens your edge. The addicted mind seeks escape. The masterful mind seeks evolution. When you walk this path, relapse no longer means failure, it becomes a teacher. Every stumble, every temptation, every struggle is the hammer striking your steel. Mastery is not found in the absence of battle, but in the grace with which you fight it. At first, mastery feels unreachable. You will question your strength, curse your progress, and doubt your purpose. But Musashi taught that the way is in training. Mastery is built not on intensity, but on consistency. It is the art of showing up for yourself every single day, no matter how small the step, no matter how heavy the heart. You learn to see progress not in grand victories, but in quiet moments. The day you resist the urge, the night you choose peace over pleasure, the hour you breathe through pain instead of running from it. This is mastery in motion, slow, deliberate, and eternal. The warrior who seeks mastery learns that the battle is not against addiction itself, but against the part of him that believes he cannot change. Once that belief breaks, you are free. Mastery is freedom earned through devotion, not desire. Mastery also means harmony between control and surrender. You cannot force transformation, you must allow it to unfold through effort and patience. The samurai trains until technique becomes instinct, until every movement flows without thought. Likewise, when you master yourself, resistance fades. You no longer fight addiction, you outgrow it. Your mind becomes still, your emotions balanced, your actions intentional. This is the state of Mushin, the mind of no mind, where decision and action merge into one. You begin to live with clarity, responding instead of reacting. The cravings that once held power over you become distant echoes, reminders of how far you've risen. Mastery teaches you that victory is not a moment, it is a way of being. You live as a warrior, not because you fight, but because you embody peace. The addiction loses meaning when you realize you never needed it. What you sought was always within. In the end, mastery is not about conquest, but creation. It is the ability to forge your own path, to live by your own code, to stand firm in storms and move gracefully in calm. Musashi reached mastery through simplicity, carrying little, wanting less, and becoming one with his art. You too can reach mastery when you let go of everything that no longer serves your growth. The habits, the fears, the attachments, they fall away like dust from a sharpened blade. What remains is your true nature, calm, sharp, and free. Mastery is not the end of your journey, it is the beginning of your true life. A life where you no longer seek control, because you are control. When awareness guides you, discipline strengthens you. Detachment frees you, purpose drives you, and balance sustains you. You stand unshaken. That is mastery, the warrior's highest form, where the battle ends and the way begins. And so, my fellow warriors, the path to quitting addiction is not a battle to destroy yourself, but a journey to rediscover who you truly are. Like Musashi standing alone at dawn, sword in hand and spirit unbroken, you too must face your inner chaos and carve order from it. Every craving, every fall, every victory, they are all strokes of the blade shaping the warrior within. You were not meant to live chained to weakness, but to rise through it, to refine yourself in the fires of awareness, discipline, detachment, purpose, balance, and finally mastery. Remember, the way is not found in one grand act of strength, but in the 1,000 small choices you make each day. You are the blacksmith and the sword, the creator and the creation. The moment you choose control over craving, purpose over comfort, and calm over chaos, you reclaim your power. Walk this path with courage, and know that every step, every breath is part of your forging. Thank you for standing with me, for being part of this brotherhood of warriors. Together, we are not just quitting addiction, we are mastering the art of living. Now, rise, sharpen your spirit, and walk the way.